Hi there. My name is Dr. Doe Buckley, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this online summer edition of Sci 307 or RMS 2. So, welcome. Hopefully, by now, you've had a chance to watch my welcome video and you've also read through the syllabus. If that's not the case, I would recommend that you pause and maybe do that now before continuing the video, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So I am going to summarize some of the information that is in the syllabus, but not everything. Okay, so let's start with the structure of the course, right? So, the first thing to note is that this course is entirely asynchronous, right? So, hopefully, in the age of COVID, most of you know what that means, but if not, asynchronous courses are those where there are not pre scheduled meeting times. Okay, so it's not going to be like a traditional course where we meet on Zoom, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 10:50 or whatever. With asynchronous courses, all of the material for the course has already been presented, and all you have to do is work through it on your own time, right? So, we'll look at the Canvas homepage in just a moment, but basically, what I've done is I've created all of the assignments and all of the lecture videos and other resources that you'll need. And like I said, you're free to self schedule however you like. The only constraint, of course, is that assignments have due dates. So, almost all of the assignments that you complete during this course will be due on Sundays at 11:59 p.m., right? So you're free to work on it, work on all of your assignments at whatever schedule works best for you, but you must turn everything in by Sunday at 11:59. Right? Okay, so the course is asynchronous, right? And at this point, you might be sort of internally maybe having some concerns, right? So you might think, I've never taken an online class before. How am I going to, teach myself this material? Well, the first thing to note is that I do have lecture videos and a lot of resources for you. So in terms of the resources that you'll be given, it's very similar to a standard face-to-face class. That said, if you would like to have me sit down and work with you and help you to understand the material, I am readily available to do that. So every day, Monday through Friday, I have an office hour. So I have virtual office hours on Zoom from 1 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. And I'm also available for appointments. So if that particular time doesn't work well for you with your schedule, for whatever reason, if you've got, jobs, internships, younger siblings you have to take care of during the day, whatever it might be, I'm absolutely willing to meet with you at a time that's more convenient for you. Okay? So yeah, and the other thing I should mention is the reason why I chose the asynchronous structure is because I recognize that a lot of you have other commitments right now, right? So, like I said, you might work 9 to 5 at a job. You might have an internship that takes a lot of your time, or like I said, caring for younger siblings, caring for grandparents, right? So I wanted to allow for maximum flexibility. That was kind of my intention. Okay? Alrighty. So There aren't a lot of course policies that you need to familiarize yourself with, but there are two very important ones. Um, so the first is that because this is an accelerated course and we are essentially trying to do 15 weeks worth of lecture material and lab assignments in such a short time, only 5 weeks, I do not accept late assignments. So all of your assignments for the week are going to be due at 11:59 p.m. And if that time passes and I don't see your assignments uploaded, then you will get a 0. Okay, so just be mindful of that. It is a very, very strict kind of draconian policy, but my reason for that is that I endeavor to grade all of your assignments within 24 to 48 hours. And I really don't want you guys to fall behind given how fast paced and accelerated this course is. Okay? So make sure to submit your assignments on time. Okay? I do offer a 5-minute grace period. Okay? So if we have things due at 11:59 p.m., as long as it uploads by 12:05, then you're good. Okay? But if it's 12:15, 12:30, 1 a.m., in that case, you're probably looking at a 0. Okay? So just make sure that you are aware of that. And certainly, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me. And that does remind me, going back to office hours, I am very accessible. So I encourage students to email me and also text me. My cell phone number is on the syllabus. So if at any point you have questions or you need clarification on something, if you don't want to go to all the trouble of scheduling an appointment with me or sending an email, just send me a text. Okay. The only thing is tell me your name the first few times so that I know I can recognize your phone number and all of that. But yeah, feel free to shoot me a text. I'm very responsive on my cell phone. I have an Apple Watch and I have I have my phone with me all the time, like we all do. So yeah, feel free to shoot me a text. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is that there isn't any required text for this course, but if you're looking for a book with resources, I do recommend the APA style manual, the 7th edition. So if you'd like to purchase that, that will give you more insight into the specifics of APA style. I also use a wonderful stats textbook, and it's called Statistics for People Who Think They Hate Statistics by Salkind. So if you're looking for a text that might be beneficial, and certainly if you're planning to go on to graduate school where you'll take graduate level statistics, I would encourage you to purchase those. But for this course, you're not required to purchase any texts, so don't worry about that. The only resource that you are required to have is you need access to a statistical analysis program known as SPSS. And fortunately, Mercer has purchased enough licenses for SPSS that students can actually download it for free via the IT website. So I included links in my syllabus for that, and just follow the instructions on the page, and you'll be able to have that on your personal computer or your laptop. Um, my only sort of caveat is that I am not able to help you with downloading issues or SPSS issues. So I've included a link to who you can contact in the IT department to help you navigate that. But from what I've heard from students, it's actually a fairly simple, fairly straightforward process. Okay? So no text required, but make sure you download SPSS, and you will need that starting week 1. Okay? Okay, so I'm looking at my trusty list on my iPad here. So we've covered that the course is asynchronous. We've covered office hours. We've covered the textbooks and SPSS. We've covered late assignments. The other thing I will say in terms of my course policies is obviously I have a strict policy against plagiarism. So you will be completing a project proposal where you are essentially writing a brief version of an APA style manuscript. So an introduction, a method section, a results section, and a discussion section. So obviously you're going to be summarizing research from a series of articles and doing things like that. And I will be running your submissions through a plagiarism detector called Turnitin. Okay, so just make sure that the words and ideas that you're using are properly cited. And if at all possible, I would like you to paraphrase what uh, what you find in the articles. But if there is a situation where it makes sense to use a direct quote, use those sparingly, but make sure that obviously it's in quotations and you've also cited the author and the year of publication as well as the specific page numbers. And we'll talk about the specifics of APA style later in the course. Okay? Okay, so now let's go ahead and look over the course website. Okay, so this is what you will see when you log on to Canvas. And if you ever don't see this screen, okay, this is the Canvas homepage. So just make sure that you click Home, or alternatively, you can also click Modules, and that will bring you to this spot. Okay, so generally speaking, the course is divided into 5 modules, module 1 through module 5, and each corresponds to a particular week in this course. So for example, if we're at week 1, which we are, then you would be looking at module 1, okay? Um, and so essentially each course module includes um, a, here I'll just scroll down to week 1 is a little bit different. So let's scoot down to module 2. So module 2 will be completed in week 2 of the semester. And as you'll see, I've broken each module down into a series of lecture videos. And these are videos that I've uploaded to my YouTube channel, okay? And each lecture video has a corresponding PowerPoint, okay? So just like when you're in class, in a face-to-face class, and you listen to a lecture and take notes on a PowerPoint, that's exactly what you'll be doing, right? And then because we are doing statistics, we often utilize tables and to compare whatever value we obtain to a critical value. So here I have that table. And then we have your assignments that you'll complete. So your first assignment that you'll complete after watching the lecture videos and going through the PowerPoints is you'll complete an SPSS tutorial, okay? And so an SPSS tutorial, essentially what you would do is you would click on this one-way ANOVA in this case, an SPSS guide. And essentially, it's a PDF that tells you a little bit about the data set that you'll be working with, and it also indicates there which data set you'll need. Okay? And then we go through the hypothesis, and then I have screenshots that basically explain all of the output or the procedure for conducting the statistical test in SPSS. Okay, so you'll just follow through the guides step by step. Okay, and then at the end, you will have conducted the test, so you'll have output from SPSS. And typically what the output looks like is just a series of tables, right? So what you can do is you can actually save the entire output file, right? And it's usually a .sav file, okay? So just save it onto your desktop computer and upload it to Canvas, and that's all you have to do for the SPSS tutorial. One thing to note, and I'll just go back for a second. One thing to note is that when you click on the SPSS data sets, so for example, for the one-way ANOVA tutorial, you'll need the exercise data set. So if you click on it in Canvas, nothing happens, right? And that's because what you need to do is you need to click download, okay? And then show in Finder, okay? And then you'll save it to your desktop. So you'll have to have it saved to your desktop, and you'll obviously have to have SPSS downloaded for it to open, okay? All right, so that's the SPSS tutorial, okay? And then you'll have a homework assignment and a lab assignment. So if I just click on the homework assignment really quick, you'll see that there are directions at the top, and make sure you read those very, very carefully. And essentially what you'll do is you'll do 3 different types of problems or 3 different types of questions. There will be a short answer question where I ask you conceptual questions about whatever statistical test we're talking about. There'll be math problems where you actually have to compute the statistic by hand. And in that case, you want to make sure to show all of your work, and you can upload that in a number of different ways. I've had students with iPads who just kind of write using their iPad their math work. You can also do it on a piece of notebook paper and just take pictures and upload that. Just make sure if you do that, you type your answers, because for both the math problems and SPSS problems, I want you to report the results in APA style. And you'll see how to do that from the lecture videos and also from the SPSS tutorials. Okay, so make sure you can show your work, written on a piece of notebook paper or on your iPad or whatever, but make sure your actual final answer for both the math problems and the SPSS problems is typed up in APA style. Okay? And then for SPSS, it'll be very similar for the SPSS problems. It'll be very similar to the tutorials where you work with a data set. So for example, this is with the Fessinger data set. Excuse me. So you'll open up a data set and kind of follow the steps that you learned in the tutorial to run the analysis, and then you'll write up the results in APA style, okay? And all of the homework assignments are going to be very similar in that regard. They're going to have short answer, math problems, and SPSS problems. Okay, so the lab assignments are a little bit different. So sometimes Like for your first lab assignment, you'll actually conduct a mini experiment. So you'll actually have to run through an experiment for 5 participants, and you'll be given the materials, method, and everything that you need to do that. So that's one example of what a lab might look like. Another example is you might read about an actual psychological study. So you'll be given an introduction and method section, and then you'll work with a data set and actually run through the analysis and see what the results were and kind of interpret them. Um, Other times for lab assignments, you'll be given a series of questions where you read a little blurb about a psychological experiment, and then you have to kind of piece apart all of the components of the experiment. So, for example, the independent variable, dependent variable, any extraneous or confounding variables, and then you'll have to summarize the results of the experiment. So we do a couple of different types of lab assignments, but they're all generally designed to help you practice conceptually concepts and research methods, and also to give you more practice running statistical analysis in SPSS. Okay. Okay, so that's how most online modules are structured. But let's go ahead and scroll up to the top and talk about week 1, because week 1 is a little bit different. So week 1 is essentially just reviewing content from 306. Okay, so what I've done here is we have Module 1A, Module 1B, Module 1C, and Module 1D. Okay, and each of these modules feature different concepts that were learned in 306, right? So for example, we start with the research process, and then we go through the basics of the scientific method, what confounds and extraneous variables are, etc., etc. And it's the same thing. So we have lecture videos and lecture PowerPoints. Module 1B is the same thing. Here is an introduction to statistics. So I talk about things like scales of measurement, measures of central tendency, measures of variability, etc. And then again, we have, in this case, because we're talking about statistical tests, I have a table for you and SPSS tutorials. And then that just continues for the other 2 review modules. Okay, so what is your specific task for this first week where you're reviewing all of that content? Okay, well, you'll see if you continue scrolling down here that at the end, after Module 1D, I have lab and homework assignments for Module 1 or for week 1, right? So let's take a look at the homework assignment. Okay, so for the homework assignment, I basically have a series of questions that attempt to help you practice some of the concepts that you learned in 306. So there's not a whole lot of problems. There's only 10 questions. Okay, so what I would like you to do is I would like you to start out as soon as possible by trying to answer these questions, okay? And you're not going to be graded for accuracy, okay? So I'm not going to look at your answers and mark them incorrect and subtract points, okay? So this is a completion grade. As long as you answer all 10 questions, you're in good shape. You'll get 100%. Basically, this is meant to be kind of a diagnostic. Okay, so by answering these questions, you'll be able to assess, and I'll be able to assess what you currently know, and maybe the concepts that are a little bit tricky. Okay, so try to do this assignment as soon as possible, like Monday or Tuesday. Okay, and then once you answer all those questions, you'll probably have a good idea of some of the concepts that you still remember and the ones that you need to review, right? So after doing this initial um, assignment, okay, go back through at that point the review modules and say, okay, I have no idea what the empirical rule is, or I have no idea what a type 1 error is, or I have no idea what an extraneous variable is. Okay? Well, in that case, just look through here and find the videos talking about the concepts, right? So, for example, if you don't know what a confound or extraneous variable is, here's a video talking about it, right? Um, if you don't know what scales of measurement are, if you need to review that, here's a video talking about it. If you don't know what a type 1 and type 2 error is, watch this video. Okay, so all of the content that I've assessed in that assignment is available for your review. And if for whatever reason you can't find the appropriate video for it, let me know and I will tell you which videos to watch. Okay, so essentially the goal for Module 1 is just for you to review the concepts in 306 and have the resources at your disposal to kind of relearn those concepts if you need to. And I'm a memory psychologist, so I know that relearning is actually one of the best things that you can do because it allows you to engage in an active retrieval process. And essentially increase the accessibility of memories that are not uh, not as well practiced, if that makes sense. Okay. So the other assignment, so you have that homework assignment, and the other assignment is going to be a lab. And this is the lab where you actually conduct an experiment. Okay, so essentially what you're going to do is you're going to read this document where I introduce a particular research question to you. Okay, so our research question is, does listening to classical music improve memory? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're just going to just read through this, Oops. Let me go ahead and make sure. There we go. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to read through this document, okay? And what I've done here is I've assigned each student into either the control group or the experimental group, okay? And so depending on which group you're in, that's going to influence uh, what specific procedure that you follow. Okay, so I have a list of 10 words that you'll need to conduct the experiment. And I also have the basic procedure, which is very simple. It's a very simple experiment. It shouldn't take you very long. And just find whatever 5 participants you can. It doesn't matter if they're, younger or older than you. They don't have to be college students. Just anyone that you have access to is fine. Okay? Um, so you'll run your 5 participants through that procedure. Okay? And then I have a Google spreadsheet that you're going to use to enter in your data. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to upload the data or copy the data from the spreadsheet into SPSS, and then you're going to run the results, or you're going to conduct the appropriate statistical analysis. Okay? And for instructions on how to do that, again, you'll just look at the SPSS tutorials. In this case, for an independent samples t-test. Okay, so you'll copy in all the data from the class, okay, because everybody's going to run 5 participants in either the control or experimental group. And then we're going to combine all of our data into that spreadsheet. Um, and then you'll copy it into SPSS and do the appropriate analysis. Okay? And then I'll ask you other questions like what was the independent variable, what was the dependent variable, what scale was it measured on, etc., just to give you more practice doing that. Okay? Okay, so this lab assignment is divided into a part 1 and a part 2. Okay, so part 1, where you actually run the experiment and collect your data, that is going to be due on Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, June 29th is going to be when I want you to have your data uploaded, whereas you have until Sunday, as you normally would, to complete the part 2. So the part 2 is where you answer the questions, run the analysis, and all of that. Okay? All right, so I think that concludes my video where I talk about the syllabus and course policies, and we go through the course website together. Certainly feel free to text me or email me this week if you have any questions at all, or if I can clarify anything for you. Okay, I'm so glad you'll be joining me for 307 this summer, and I hope you have a terrific day, and hopefully I will see you virtually again soon. All right, take care.